can dance a little.
Oh, we need to.
I am a horrible dancer. You do not want to see that. What was that?
You're good.
Okay, so let's move on to our tabletops today. We've got Jill Thingy who's going to lead us in this discussion. So Jill, take the stage.
Well, originally I decided to do something from Leslie's Facebook. Then I couldn't find it today. I thought that you had a wonderful thought, and then if you could have a magic wand, go poof and do it.
yeah.
I loved that idea. And then I couldn't find it, so I thought, well, my second thing is that I love our country. And when I look at pictures from like this calendar, well, there's kind of a synopsis of all the little small ones. It makes me think of different aspects that I love. When I look at Mount Rushmore, I immediately think of Roscoe. Do you remember his? He had an adventure with his family at Mount Rushmore. And I don't know how many of you have been back east and seen these, but it brings back memories. We went back to Washington, D.C. and I saw a lot of things in different historical places. But, the 4th of July, you see the one from back east and it's in front of all these beautiful. I thought some of these things might bring a special memory to you. Because we all have, and if you don't have patriotic memories, I have some really good thoughts in here. Say, oh, you don't have one? Well, you can do this instead. So, Tad, would you like to come up and look at these pictures and decide on one and pick out a memory for us?
Sure.
Okay. Just choose one of those, and then you can get the big one and show it to us when you do.
Okay. Clever. I like that.
I looked at all these pictures. I've never been to any of them. But the one that did stand out to me is this one. Because recently my daughter has been getting into family history and asking me about relatives and what they did and things like that. And a lot of my ancestors have served in the military. Specifically, I had both my grandpas serve in World War II. And just to hear them and hear the sacrifices that they went through, one of my grandpas fought in the Battle of the Bulge. One of my grandma's brother was an airman and died as part of World War II as well. And just to see what they do and what they sacrifice for us has really been touching me lately, and it's been really great to talk to my daughter about those things. So, thanks.
Thank you. Are you looking down on purpose?
No.
Do you want to come up here and
It makes you more of a target.
everybody go, I see the spot of it. Pick me.
I stared at her awkwardly and then she went.
Gonna extol your virtues. Here we go. Whoever
so-
did that, extol, did you get that?
I'm going to ad lib a little bit. I'm going to talk about fireworks. I don't know if you remember when, there was a long time that fireworks weren't at Stadium of Fire. They'd be at different parks around Provo, but now it seems like, Stadium of Fire. When Stadium of Fire first started, they weren't as structured as they are now. You could kind of go anywhere you wanted to sit and watch the fireworks. Well, this particular Stadium of Fire, we're watching the fireworks, and they lit them off as they do now in the south end of the zone. The wind changed directions, and the fireworks now were coming down on the people that were sitting right underneath them. People started putting things over their heads to protect them and so forth, and some of them were hot. Not that this is a funny thing, but it was kind of funny to watch. As one of them came down, some woman had too much hairspray, and her hair went and her husband next to her, sorry, Weston, was sitting here with the whole band beating her head. And sorry, but it was the funniest thing that I've ever seen. And that was a very memorable experience.
We'll wish she okay?
Yeah, he was.
He didn't take off her hair.
He was thorough.
He was thorough. He was.
He beat it out
He was
good.
beating her, and that's what was so funny. Is that
Haven't you seen that they cut hair now with fire?
Yeah.
I saw that on
You were showing me
You
that.
could turn off that, but
Light
you
your,
need to come
fire,
up.
your head on fire and then comb the fire.
I cut out a thing about golf and I forgot to bring it
get a
because you
little-
never come.
Okay.
I had a special thing about golf.
Somebody finally came, they didn't bring it.
Dad, I love that you chose that picture. I read Flags of Our Fathers, and I think of a good history book. Everybody needs to just read that. It's part of the school curriculum. It'll give you appreciation for what I think six young men, they were 16, 17, 18 years old, went through.
Flags of our fathers.
Flags of Our Fathers. So I have a lot of travel experiences. My wife just went to New York, and that's actually low on my tiers. I've been a lot of other places, and I just don't care that much. We just planned a trip and booked the flights to Rome. We're going February. 2 weeks ago, actually, I was out golfing, and my wife texted me and said, hey, the LDS Temple open house is in Rome. We were already going to do a different trip, and I came home that night and I said, all right, let's switch and let's do that. So I got out my Delta miles and my American Airline miles, and we're flying into Rome, and we get to stay in a 5-star hotel on points for the first 4 nights. And we'll go around. It's right in the city center, so I think we can walk to everything within 20 minutes. And then we'll hop on a train and go to Florence and see the naked statue.
David.
David, and then go to Pisa on a little train from there, and then back to Florence, and then up to Venice. And instead of going back to Rome, we'll just fly out of Venice. And so I've gained an appreciation traveling a lot of places in the world, doing cool things, scuba diving. I'm a terrible swimmer, but I did it anyway, and it was amazing. And that's one of the freedoms and blessings we have to be able to do is because of where we live, we can go travel around the world, and I try to take advantage of that as much as I can. Thank you.
So I like the Statue of Liberty too, and it reminds me of a story when I was young and a little crazy. My first trip to New York, I was 22, almost 23. I'd just gotten divorced, and me and a group of friends drove from here straight through to New York.
Straight through.
We did
It's a long trip.
solid, no hotels, nothing, straight through 2 days. We had a short time period. We had to fit it all in. And I was in New York a year ago, and it reminded me of how much fun this trip was, because I was looking across from the Statue of Liberty to New York City, and the Twin Towers aren't there anymore. We all know what happened to them. Well, what happened to them when I was 22 is we went to tour the Twin Towers, and you're only allowed to go up so far in the one. You had to pay the little tour, and they took you up. It wasn't quite all the way to the top, but it was close, and you got to look around. Not allowed to go into the other one. Unless you're me. We happened to find a service elevator and slowly worked our way up to the very top floor. And we kind of peeked out, and there was a big party going on. It was some kind of political party. Everybody's dressed to the nines. We're in our shorts and tank tops and being crazy kids. We went out and actually started eating food off of their buffet table. Oh my gosh. And guess what showed up? Security. So security put us on the elevator, and they didn't escort us down. We figured out how to get off on another floor and venture around about 4 more floors before we finally left the building. Don't ask me what I was thinking, but it was the best time I ever had. And when the Twin Towers went down, all I could remember is how much fun we had in those Twin Towers and how sad I was to see them go. And then when we got out on the streets, we still kept having fun. There was guys riding around on bikes. It was a really, really hot day, probably mid-July. And there was a hose laying on the ground that was running in front of a grocery store. They had all of their fruits out in the boxes. And a guy on the bike rides up and says, "Hey, would you mind grabbing that hose and spraying me?" I was like, "Sure." picked it up and sprayed him, and about 5 more bikes come by, and I sat there and sprayed everybody, and everybody's having a great old time. So we had a water fight after getting kicked out of Twin Towers in New York City. That's my experience.
We all need adventures like that to keep our memories alive and think, oh, if you have a down day, just remember the good fun time. Well, Weston,
Sure.
your turn.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot to shake your hand.
Oh, it's okay. Long distance shake. I was going to do New York Story as well, but I'm not going to do New York Story anymore. Because I was 14 when I went to the Twin Towers. It was a month before they went down. It was pretty crazy.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't 22 yet, but. So I'm going to do this one instead. Hold on. Is that supposed to be the Golden Gate?
Probably.
Is that the Golden
Yeah.
Gate? Just
Yeah.
colorless? Golden? Anyway,
Well,
so.
the background is.
Yeah. So this, and that's the Bay Bridge, I'm assuming, over there. Yeah. So San Francisco holds kind of a special place in my heart. So I don't know if you guys know, I work with Transamerica Financial Advisors, and the Transamerica Tower's there. And so there was a competition that was, the big pointy, funny looking tower. It's honestly a weird story. If you ever have a chance to learn about why it's the way it is, the elevator structure, it's a super, super interesting story. But the city itself, my wife and I had worked really, really hard for the first couple of years of our business, and we qualified to go on an elite trip there, and we went out and got to go to the top of the tower and eat a heavy hors d'oeuvre dinner with a few of the leadership of the company and just kind of overlook the bay at sunset. It was a beautiful experience. But I think for me, what stood out to this thing for me was that it represented a step forward in my life. Everything about what we do in life should be about progressing, not competing necessarily, but it's about competing with ourselves and becoming the best versions of ourselves. And so San Francisco for me, and it was back in 2015 or 16, I think, when I actually went. 2016. And I just remember the brisk, cool nights of early October. Amazing culture, amazing music, walking around, and it was a state of bliss for me because it represented that first step along my progress to becoming a better version of me. And so I think if we can attach these types of memories and these places to what it really means, it's more than just places, it's more than just people, it's the relationships, and it's about progress in life and about making advancements. And so for me, San Francisco holds a very special place because of that very, very unique memory for me. So.
Thank you. So, any more time or not?
We have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Bart, are you ready?
We should have been writing down who did all of them, because we've done quite a few.
Oh, he's got it.
Oh, you've got them? Good job, Kev.
Okay, so I will do New York since you didn't do it.
Everybody loves me.
Imagine me with a big cowboy hat, a Western shirt, Wranglers, pressed with the crease down, Justin Ropers, walking in Washington Square Park. And I'm walking around. This guy comes up to me and he says, "You want some pot?" What about that outfit says I would want pot? I didn't understand, and I didn't hear him. I didn't expect it. So I said, "What?" He says, "Dude, you want some pot?" "Dude, you want some marijuana?" And I said, "No." And still to this day, it baffles me as to why that get-up said, "I want pot." I don't know. I guess they just hadn't seen anybody dressed like that. And it was the weirdest experience for me. I did not take the pot.
He actually wore a sign on his head that said, "Pick me, pick me."
I laughed in the beginning because I thought you were going to reveal that you were the naked cowboy.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I was hoping you were going.